this just fantasy, or are we talking The Witcher? So, The Witcher is definitely something that I'm going to be coming back to multiple times. Definitely going to talk about, of course, the games, try talking about the books, um, and probably the show as well. But right now, we're going to start somewhat arbitrarily on just the first Witcher comic that I have picked up, because there are Witcher comics. There's a whole bunch of them at this point, and if this is any example of what to expect from them, I definitely want to look at others. The Witcher is definitely an interesting fantasy world to explore. It's definitely very dark, and some would say a little cynical, about, like, people and whatnot. But it is an interesting world, and it's also very folklore influenced, and like folklore and fairy tales, and it's many classic Witcher tales and stories are just adaptations of fairy tales. And I am a huge fan of that concept, just bringing fairy tales out. And the Ballad of Two Wolves is this story, and it has something to do with, as you may guess, the Three Little Pigs, and also with Red Riding Hood. And it's very interesting. And this is just the first issue. I'll talk about other ones as well. I try to isolate the first issues of things, so that it's its own video, and if folks want to pick it up and read it for themselves, I'm not spoiling the whole arc, but when I do another video on this, it'll be covering essentially the rest of the story, and kind of the highs and points of interest in all of them. But we already have a really cool cover, really cool image, and again, evocative of fairy tales and the Three Little Pigs, except these are three horrible hogs, I would call them. And oh boy, we're in a minefield when it comes to pronunciations of some of these names. So we have Bartosz, Sztybor, and Miki, Montlló, and Hassan, Otsmane-Elhaou. I apologize to all three of you for bastardizing your names, because I'm just a simple man who may not pronounce everything correctly, but I will at least acknowledge, hey, I made a mistake, and sorry. And this is also definitely, it's looked over by CD Projekt Red, who's responsible for the game, so some connection there. And so right away, of course, we're going to talk about the art here, and I think the art here is interesting. It's really strong. Love the use of blacks. Also good colors. But we're getting the Geralt of Rivia, who's the Witcher, doing a very Witcher thing, which is fighting some Noon Wraiths, which is, of course, like just a thing you do a lot of in the game, and is just, yeah, and one of those cool Witcher creatures that, I don't know, there's just all sorts of cool imagery associated with it. You have his kind of sort of Japanese inspired plate armor, and his two swords. It's a great iconic look. And we have here bearded Witcher, so like everybody likes kind of older bearded Geralt. It's everybody's favorite, I think, or most people's favorite. And here he's using his the bits of magic he has. But yeah, like all around, like great action. And here we have our everybody's friend here, the bard, Dandelion, or I guess it's Dandelion. At least that's what it is in the games. I don't think it's that in the show, that's for sure. But yeah, this is but I believe this is Dandelion. And yeah, I love this. We're in a graveyard, and The distinction of the characters' personalities, really great. Their dynamic is interesting. Yeah, I'm a fan of this artist, and at least how they're rendering things. Um, and he's getting the bounties and whatnot, but he's also not respected, because that's the whole thing about the Witcher, is a very useful figure in the world, and yet human beings are still shitty to him. And here we have the song being rendered. I like the look of this page. I like the kind of use of pencils and that kind of rougher, for a more dreamlike or in the mind version of our Witcher, our dashing, heroic, sexy Witcher. That the people love that version of him, but when he actually shows up, they don't like it. And of course, we have our Red Riding Hood. Yeah, all around, just these great sets. Well rendered. Great costuming on the characters. And yeah, good use of silhouette. Great panel layouts. It's all around a really nice finished product. And yeah, I think that it's capturing the kind of the mood and the spirit of these characters. And yeah, I mean, everybody knows what this image is in relation to folk tales and fairy tales, and so it's okay, we're dealing with a werewolf here, and our three evil pigs here, in these, nasty, looks like probably women of importance. And a really cool looking werewolf right here. This is where we get kind of our backstory, the mission log. But you know what? It's at least the art is nice, and it is well written. Or at least I had no problems with it. They could have taken the Mike Mignola Hellboy approach, where you cover all this in probably less than a page, and very to the point dialogue from a figure, and then the rest of the comic just proceeds with brevity, but also with atmosphere and mood. The Hellboy way is, of course, always the best way, or at least the best way for a lot of stories, and more writers should pay attention to Mike Mignola as a writer as well as an artist, because he's really good on both accounts. Yeah, so we have a werewolf story, which is a classic monster, but yeah, I just think that I'm fixated on just the art and the personality here, and I just think that this renders this world very well. And again, this feels like it's related to the game, at least because I'm more familiar with the game. I mean, I've seen the show, but less than the books, I should say. And yeah, this feels like a courtyard in one of the games, and one of those points of the story where you're riding along on the horse, and they tell you the backstory of whatever the mission is you're about to do, and you go to talk to people, and basically we get these more looks at these, what the story is thus far, and we have basically these nasty ladies in charge of this town, and he's there to kill a wolf, but there may be more to the story, and it may be that these three pigs are who's really at fault here, or what so it seems. So yeah, he's basically being hired to kill this wolf, but maybe more to the story here. And also I love that it's the town, I think, of Grimm, so it's definitely acknowledging the source material. Love that. Yep, and here we have our werewolf. And again, it's a cool tough, big werewolf. Again, very akin to stuff I've seen in The Witcher before. And yeah, setting up an interesting concept, where like, hey, let's talk it out. And also look ahead at the pretty cover. So that is issue 1 of The Ballad of Two Wolves, with The Witcher here. Witcher is one of those franchises that I feel like is going to be around for a long time now. And I think it's because we have a really interesting character and world set up where we have a monster hunter, who can be gruff, but also like has kind of a moral center about him. Who his job, his purpose in life is to kill monsters, and yet he is hated and feared by most people because he's not quite human. That is the basic concept behind The Witcher. And I think it's compelling because he's an outsider who is doing good for the world, but is just not recognized for it. So I think that's interesting, and it's always going to be compelling. And I look forward to reading the rest of this series and going over it with you, because I think, it bodes well that Witcher comics are something to look out for. And if you're a fan of The Witcher and you're a fan of the world it creates, whether it's through the video games or through the books or through the show, I think that this is a great addition to exploring and enjoying that world. And if you like to explore cool worlds, I suggest exploring Sidequesters, which is my comic. It is about a noble warrior and her new best friend, a giant lizard man. And it is the first 8 issues collected here in this one, volume 1. And if you would like to purchase your own copy, you can find it on my website, or you can read the story for yourself on Global Comics and see what you think of it. It's the thing that I've made that I'm the most proud of, and if you're interested in fantasy comics, you may want to even start here. I also have short stories collected in my Hassan books, which are about like kind of magic users. It is set in the same world as Sidequesters, and these stories are also available on Global Comics as well. And if you're interested in like superheroes and stuff, then I have 3-Panel Origin, which is my kind of comedy parody superhero book where I create a character and tell their origin in 3 panels. This collects the first 3 years of a webcomic that I've been doing, and I put new ones out every Thursday on Instagram. And I also have a book of short stories with those characters. The tone is very similar to The Tick or something like that. So it's a little irreverent, a little silly, and a lot of fun. These are available on the website as well. So, final thoughts on The Witcher. Love the game. Show's okay. Haven't read the books yet, but I want to. And this comic is really nice, really cool. So, check it out.